guys, it's Sam, and today I'm going to be talking about my non-book related goals for 2021. This Vlogmas video was voted on by my Patreon supporters, so every month my Patreon supporters get to vote in polls for books that I'll read and video topics I'll do, and for Vlogmas they got to pick the majority of the content. They got to vote on multiple topics, and there's a lot of really cool plans for Patreon for 2021. I've gotten a lot of feedback from them and really involved all of my patrons in the process, but we're changing the community name and a lot of things about the community, adding some additional tiers, adding some additional perks to new tiers and existing tiers, and just a lot of really cool stuff that I'll do a video, I think, on my BookTube channel about. But if you want to get in on all of that action, I will link my Patreon on the screen for you guys to check out so you can be more involved in the new year. So I talked about in my 2020 goals video, which I will link on the screen because I recently wrapped up my goals there, and how generally well I did, that I sort of have a format of how I set up my yearly goals. The last 3 or so years I've been pretty focused about this in a way that doesn't feel super stressful to me. I know not everyone is going to goal set the way that I do, and that's fine. I'm not here to teach you, I'm just here to show you what I do. But the last few years I've taken a lot of inspiration from different lifestyle, productivity, but self-care type channels that I follow about how to do this, and I felt really good about how I've done this the last few years. It's very low pressure and small steps, but also very achievable. I always feel like I can really do the goals that I set out to do. So as I mentioned in my 2020 goals video, I typically will pick a word that is sort of the word that I want to encapsulate that year, and I haven't fully decided this yet, but the word I'm leaning most towards, and I've been leaning towards for the last month or so as I've been brainstorming, is fulfilled. I am fulfilled currently in a lot of ways, but I think there's just a few more things that can be kind of tweaked within my life that will really bring me to a spot of just feeling really good. I feel pretty decent right now, but there's some things that I kind of want to put in place for my life that I think will make it even better. So the goal for 2021 is fulfillment, those kinds of things. I have already done my me in 1 year spread that I've mentioned before, where I kind of have a sort of cloud of things and in different categories that I want to accomplish and kind of where I want to be myself in 1 year. And then that really tailors my goals to that. If that's where I want to be in 1 year, what are the things I have to do, the behaviors I have to do in order to get there? And that's how I sort of build everything out. So my categories this year are very similar to last year. I mean, almost entirely the same, and that's career, mental, physical, and financial. Last year I also had a relationships category, but since that's so on the fence, we don't know what 2021 is really going to bring for how much we can interact with people, I didn't set that as a concrete goal again, because that's really out of my control for how much I'll be able to see people and sort of foster relationships and connections. Although that's still a thing that I want to do when that becomes possible, but that's something that I will focus on more in my quarterly goals as the year sort of reveals itself or what it's going to allow and be. So for some of these goals, I just know how to achieve them, and for some I actually set out SMART goals, which I will get into about these broader goals as we go. I mean, I got pretty detailed this year, but I like this. Again, if this stresses you out, that's totally fine. This makes me feel grounded and in control, and just knowing what I'm doing to get the things that I want in my life. So I'll start with mental, and in the mental category there's a number of things. I did add meetups and stuff there for when that becomes possible as one little branch, but like I just mentioned, that'll be something that I'll be able to look into as the year goes on. So the first thing, and the thing that I really didn't set SMART goals for, is to get my own place. This is something that I know is going to happen. It's actually something that I left off the list for 2020 because I thought it was going to happen in 2020, and I was I don't even need to add it to the list, it's going to happen. Obviously it didn't, just because of everything that was going on. Not that I couldn't move into my own place, I've mentioned this before, I could have, but I chose to stay where I was because I had just happened to move home right before the pandemic hit, and now I can use that already being home to save up money, and just why move into the Chicago area when nothing's open and my offices aren't open, I'm working from home and everything else. So it just happened to work out. I wouldn't have moved home if I would have already been in my own place, but the fact that I was already here and it was the perfect opportunity, I was able to stay, which was nice, but also ugh. So I am hoping to move out within the first 6 months of the year. As of the filming of this video, 2 different vaccines have been announced and are rolling out. I kind of said that I would start looking for a place once the vaccines are announced and we get a more concrete idea of when the general public will get them, which it looks like right now it'll be spring, summer. So I'm thinking tentatively late spring will be my move out date. So I'm hoping within the first 6 months, by the end of June. I'm hoping more April, May it'll be possible, but again, it just kind of got to play it by ear. ear that's really out of my control. And I did say, as I said in the past for my own place, I want it to be aesthetically pleasing for me. I spend a lot of time at home. I want it to be a place that I really like, and thankfully I have a lot of the things already for that. I had my last place decorated pretty nicely. I have those items still. I know what I want, and I have a vision for what I want. So these are things that I didn't set like SMART goals for because I already know how to do this, but it will be something that'll be a big part of making me feel more fulfilled if I'm able to accomplish that this year, if the world allows. Next is some continued digital minimalism, and that includes less social media. So this is something I've set more concrete SMART goals for. I set digital minimalism as a goal last year that wasn't quite achieved in 2020, but that was because of the nature of like us not being connected any other way, and that was very much out of my control. I didn't beat myself up for that. But now I'm putting more things in place for that. I'm actually going through right now and doing a lot of like digital decluttering, which I'm going to be filming a vlog for that you guys will see, or it might be a Patreon exclusive, but I'm not quite sure yet. I'm doing some like decluttering life reset videos that'll all be kind of in like a vlog series that will be up in like January, February time. But I'm putting a lot of things in place while doing that declutter and learning some things so that I can keep that sustainability with the digital minimalism. And the biggest piece of that right now, because I think the thing that affects me the most is social media, and I want to get better about that because I notice that I feel better when I have less social media time. So I did set out some SMART goals for that. So for social media, I said this last year as well, and it wasn't quite as possible because again, what 2020 brought, but I want 15 minutes a day of Twitter. Maximum. And I was pretty good at the beginning of the year before everything kind of fell apart with doing my 15 minutes. I have my apps set to a like shutdown. Screen time does that on the iPhone, so after a certain amount of time it shuts it off for you. Shutting it off isn't enough for me though, like I need to delete it from my phone. So I want to start doing that again because I was doing that at the beginning of the year, and then sometimes I wasn't even downloading it every day again to check. So I would like to start doing that again. The big social media sink for me lately has been TikTok, and I want to do 30 minutes a day of TikTok. Scrolling endlessly for hours is just not something I want to do. I can use that time to be playing video games, to be reading, to be studying, and to be maybe even watching TV. Like those are some more also mindless, some of them, activities that I could be doing that I feel like are time better spent than TikTok. The thing with TikTok that's so addicting is I do follow a lot of creators, and my For You page is very like learning focused. Like there's a lot of like good information on there, but you never know what you're gonna get. So I just keep scrolling to get to like some of the good bits and stuff, and I end up getting sucked into like some of the entertainment stuff, and it just is like a rabbit hole that even though it can be very beneficial for me, I just want to limit more. So I want to do 30 minutes. The reason that this hasn't happened as much is because again, the beginning of the year, well, not the beginning, I think I didn't get TikTok until like April or May, but when I first got it, I would watch it and then delete it, and again, not always re-download it every day. Well, then when Trump decided that he didn't want it to be in the store anymore and you couldn't have access to it, I wasn't able to do that anymore because I would lose TikTok completely. And that couldn't happen during our times of like limited social interaction. So I just kept it on my phone, but it was very easy to just ignore the time limits, and that was like a whole thing. So in the new year, when hopefully the TikTok is back in the store and you can like access it, I can delete it and re-download it as needed and not have it suck up so much time for me. I also want to be mindful about my social media trends as this happens. Like as I start limiting these social media platforms, will I start spending time on other ones? If that's the case, I want to set boundaries for those as well, but I don't know what those are yet, so I can't set boundaries for things that haven't happened yet if they're even going to happen. So I just put it in there like, hey, maybe every quarter evaluate what you're doing. And then lastly, I do want to continue to do one social media detox day a month where I just stay off all social media, and I've been doing that pretty consistently. Not always through the beginning and like last spring and stuff, which I mentioned in my last video, but I've been doing that pretty consistently and I want to keep doing that. I want to potentially, maybe, I didn't put this as a concrete goal, but I'll evaluate it quarterly, get to a point where like I have one social media detox day a week. Like honestly, like I just want to get to a point where maybe I'm not even on like some of these platforms a lot at all. And I just check in occasionally and I get the same information that I need and the connection and everything else without being on it like all the time, every day, and getting sucked into stuff. The reason with the social media for me is because where I get lost in it is, especially on Twitter, in like conversations, I will check messages, not even in my own conversations, but in other people's like threads and stuff, and I will find the shitty people and like read what they have to say and knowing I'm gonna get mad. So I just need to limit doing that and like limit my access to that and limit my access to like all the noise. I find Twitter especially to be so noisy and I just don't want that anymore. I know that like there's a certain amount of Twitter that is helpful to me and then it gets into like a more toxic pattern, and so I just want to limit that, and that is true for any of the social media. So the values that really guide this and my why are engagement, connection, and mindfulness. Engagement being like more engaged with what I'm currently doing. You can't really be doing that when you're on social media a ton. Connectedness, again, to be connected in a mindful way and to be connected with those around me and not necessarily only social media, and just to be mindful of like the present moment and not getting so sucked into social media. My next goal mentally is to increase my sustainability. So this is something that I've been like slowly doing. I haven't done it so much here when I've been living with my parents temporarily because I don't have as much control over like their stuff, but in my own space I use like glass containers for things, and I want to continue to add to some of those things. I asked for a like straight razor for Christmas that I may or may not get, so that I'm not wasting that. I use like more sustainable like floss and stuff. I've done some things over the years to add to the sustainability thing, and I'm not someone who's gonna be like full force sustainable everything because that takes a lot of time and privilege and energy. But slowly I want to make replacements for things. Some ideas that I wrote down as possibilities are like beeswax wraps instead of saran wrap, reusable shower cap. Right now I have like a huge pack of ones that I've used for years that are like plastic, but once those run out I want to start using a sustainable one. Trying to find like refillable body wash places, which I haven't been able to find yet, but I know they exist, or like start using just like bar soap instead. Possibly have like a nice handkerchief instead of just having tissues all the time, things like that. And my why for that is around values of responsibility and contributing to like the community and the planet. You know, by doing that, I just feel like that is a really good way to give back. The thing with sustainability is that I know that the majority of things with like climate change and sustainability are really in the hands of corporations. Like corporations are responsible for like what, 70 or 80% of like all emissions and things like that. So it's really not the individual's job to do this, but I think every little bit helps. And it's also like, I just hate like using some of these things like the razors and the like some of the plastic stuff. Like I just would rather not. I don't need to. I have, you know, viable options to not do that. So that is something that I want to work on in 2021, especially when I am moving out. Then lastly is I want a professional natal chart reading. You guys know if you've been watching me that I'm into like more witchy stuff now, and astrology has been something that I've gotten really into, but I am by no means an expert, and astrology is so vast, but I really use it from like a psychological lens, from a like intuition, self-awareness kind of lens, and whatever resonates, you know, resonates. So I do want to find a professional to do a reading. I haven't been able to do this yet, but it's something that I want to do by March. So my like SMART goals for that is to find a professional, whether it's somebody local or whether it's somebody like online that I can work with. My one woman that I really like on TikTok who I want to work with is always full. So like she's someone that I found, but I probably will never be able to get an appointment with her, but somebody that can do the pro reading and give me some insights and stuff, and then schedule that before the end of March. That's like a first quarter goal for me. And the values for that are acceptance and authenticity. I just really like the way you can tap into some of the things that resonate psychologically through astrology, whether you believe in astrology in like a higher woo-woo sense or whether you believe in it in more of a psychological lens like I do. It's just a helpful tool that I want to use. Okay, the next category is career, and there's 3 things for this one. So the first is to get my LCSW. This is something that is going to happen. I already have my test scheduled for February, as long as it doesn't get pushed back because of anything happening globally. So I have my test scheduled for February. I have some study materials. I have an app that I use, and I have a whole study thing. So that is just something that I'm going to get, and I know I'm going to get, but I put on the list as like, hey, this is something that you wanted to achieve this year, which I know I probably will. After I get my LCSW, which is the highest license that I can get for my profession, pretty much, unless I want to get a PhD, which I don't, I want to start getting some ACT training, which is a type of therapy. I actually talk about it in my recent video about like social worker therapist Q&A, so I will link that on the screen if you're interested in learning more about that, my career and everything. But I want to get like possibly certified, but just some additional trainings on ACT as a modality. So for this, I'm going to be looking into courses that are available, especially when we are able to do them not necessarily online, and attend some of those within the year. Especially once I pass my 6-month mark, which should be pretty soon at my current job, then you get a education stipend. So basically our owner pays for our classes that we want to take and stuff. So that'll be a nice little perk as well. And lastly, I want to read more books that are specifically for work. This is a book goal, but I don't really consider it like a booktube goal. This is something that's kind of hard to juggle because I'm always reading books for like fiction, for, you know, enjoyment. And then I also read some nonfiction books that are witchcraft related books. And then I'm usually reading like a psychology book that is more work related. And I just know and I feel that I need to do that more. And I need to make that more of like a consistent thing that I do and not just something that like I try to fit in. As far as learning things, just like there's so much to learn within the field and I just want to read more books. I have so many on my like work wish list. So I want to at least read like one of those psychology related books a month, nonfiction wise. And I think to motivate me even more to do this, I might do wrap-ups of some of those books on this channel. So let me know if you guys would like to see that. Like if I get, you know, 5 read, then I'll do a wrap-up of it or something, because it is something that I really enjoy and I think a lot of these books will be really helpful. They're not necessarily just like textbooks for therapists and stuff. They're books that like the general public could read if you're interested in some of these topics. So I think I might do that, but I just want to make that more of a priority than I have because I think it really will help me a lot career-wise. My next category is physical. And I really don't feel like I had a lot of physical goals last year. And again, these aren't things like, I'm not trying to like change my body or do any of that kind of stuff. These are not like fitness necessarily in the way that we think of it type goals, but things that do affect my like physical body type goals, if that makes sense. So the first goal is to continue to get my sleep regulated more than it has been. Just continue to get my sleep schedule on like a good pattern, which I've been working on for the last like month, 2 months, but I want to continue that into 2021. So the big like SMART goals for this, specific goals, are to consistently get 8 or more hours of sleep a night. I want to be in bed by 2 a.m. Some of you might be like, 2 a.m.? I work afternoons into evenings. So I typically work like 2 to 3 o'clock until like 9, 10. So I'm on almost like that like second shift type schedule. So I'm able to get up later, you know, because I wouldn't be able to like function if I woke up at like 8 or 9 in the morning and then had to work until like 9 at night. Like that would suck. So I get up a little bit later. I get up at like 11. So I want to be in bed by 2 so that I'm falling asleep by like 3 to get the most amount of sleep, you know, and like a normal sleep schedule. I want to do less snoozing in bed, which is something that I do on my days off. I tend to like turn my alarm off and then get back in bed and kind of like nap. Sometimes I need it and I'm still going to give myself that flexibility, but generally speaking, it's like if I just got up and moved a little bit, I wouldn't feel so groggy and I'd be able to get up instead of feeling like, oh my God, I'm so tired, I have to go back and snooze. You know, so I want to do that less, and I sort of have a plan for that, you know, as far as like, here's some tasks that I need to do before I go back into bed. If I'm still tired at that point, I can get back in bed, but like get up, take my medicine, change into just like comfy clothes, not pajamas, but like comfy clothes, make sure I make my bed, and then if I still want to snooze, it's with like my blanket on top of my bed, that kind of stuff. And the values behind this are like fitness as far as like physical and mental, like wellness, and self-care. Like I want to have a consistent schedule that's going to help with so many things. Like sleep is so important, obviously, so I want to get that better managed. Then I have the goal of day hikes. This is something that I want to just get better at and focus on. It's always been something that I'm like, oh, I want to hike more, I want to do this more, and like I never really make a concrete plan to do it. So for this, I need to find some trails close to my home, like within 2 hours, and like make plans to like go to those specific trails. And so I want to do like 1 day hike a season. Now this is going to be hard for winter. I don't know if like winter will actually happen, but for every other season, I would like to do a day hike. Figure out if I like it. And when I mean day hike, I'm like multiple hours in 1 day. Like I don't want to be camping. I don't want to be like through trail, all that stuff, but like a 4 hour plus maybe hike, or maybe like 3 hour. 3 hour plus to like start hike. And then I'll know if I like it, then I know if I want to invest in more equipment for it, as far as like a backpack and like shoes that are like specifically for it and things like that. But I've just never really figured out if I like day hiking. I've gone on like small, you know, like 1 or 2 hour hikes, but I want to do like a full day of hiking. So I am making that a priority like once a season and doing some research on that so that I make it more of a planned thing than just kind of being like, I want to hike more and never actually doing it. And this is for the values of adventure, you know, like seeing new places, fitness, you know, physical and mental, and mindfulness, you know, like being mindful in the moment out in nature. All that stuff. Then I do have a couple like specialist appointments that I need to do just for, again, like physical health type stuff. There's some things that have just been like off for years that I know that I need to like get to. So then when my insurance next year is going to be like more stable and I know where I'm going to live and all that stuff, I can find like doctors in my area for the things that I need to get checked out. I'm not going to go into detail because it's not your business, but like that's something that I want to do, and I want to like point out that I'm doing that, because me and medical appointments is like a thing that I'm pretty bad at. Like, not because I'm scared of the doctor, it's just one of those like, oh, I don't even want to bother doing it, it's such a pain in the ass. So I need to get better about that. And the last thing for physical is trying new recipes. I'm pretty decent about this, but I kind of like, it waxes and wanes. Specifically, I want to be like focusing on vegetarian recipes, which I tend to anyway. I'm not like a huge meat eater, but I kind of want to create a consistent plan for trying new recipes like once a month. So my goal for this is I pick a recipe within week 1, I'm getting all the groceries sometime in week 2, like towards the end, and then cooking it in week 3, like typically, so that I can do that and just like add some more dishes to my repertoire, you know, get more comfortable with it. I'm a pretty decent cook. Like I do like cooking things. I have a pretty decent amount of recipes that I like, but I don't do it as much as I would like. So I want to get on that. The last thing for physical is be more consistent with a yoga schedule. So right now I try to do yoga like 2 times a week. I'm not super good about necessarily always doing it. I've gotten better. I've started to actually do yoga at night while I'm meditating as like an active meditation thing, and that has helped. But I want to be more consistent with the yoga. I was more consistent when like studios and stuff were open, and I know I will be once I can do that again, because I'm just somebody when it comes to fitness that leaving my house and doing it is what I need to do, but right now that's not possible. So at this point, my goals for this are to pick the days I'm gonna do it, you know, like on my schedule, know what days it's gonna happen. Every season I want to up the amount of days, so I'm gonna start and get consistent with 2, and then like the next season go up to 3, and then 4. I would like to do yoga like 5 days a week, or even eventually get up to like every day. I just don't know if that's gonna happen. Speaking of every day, one of these seasons, I don't know which one yet, I'm going to do like a 30 days of yoga challenge. There's some on like YouTube and stuff. A lot of like the yoga creators will do these kinds of things, and I want to do that and do it every day for a month at some point. I just don't know when I'll do that. And then also every season, possibly every month, but I'm gonna stick with every season for now, I want to like really focus in on one yoga pose, or asana I think they're called, and kind of really dedicate myself to that one each season. So the first one I want to start with is the forward fold. I just think that's one that I really want to work on. You know, not anything super complex at this point. I just want to master some of the basic ones and have that be like a goal, which I think will help on the overall goal of doing yoga more. This is for the values of mindfulness, fitness, and again, self-care. Yoga is good for so many things. I really feel good when I do it. I just need to be better about my consistency with it. This is me after, because I almost forgot this goal. Another physical goal is to grow out my hair. I'm currently in the process, you can't really tell, but I think I've mentioned it in a couple different places that I'm trying to grow my hair out. We'll see if it happens, but I am making a consistent effort to do it, because right now you're not seeing a lot of people. You probably won't for still some months, so let's take advantage of that and try to get through the awkward stage as much as possible. We'll see if that happens, but it's starting to kind of flip out. But basically I wrote a list of like why I want to do it, and I just basically want to tell myself to like try to keep doing it. If I want to cut my hair, waiting at least 2 weeks before I do, and then I'm allowed to if I still want to, and just getting some like cute accessories and things to hopefully get me through it, to see if I can have longer hair again. So we'll see. I love this hairstyle. I very well could go back to this hairstyle at some point, but I would like to see what my hair looks like grown out. So that's another physical goal. And lastly, we have some financial goals. The first is to put some more sinking funds in place. So sinking funds are basically, you have like different savings accounts, and like, or you don't need to have all separate savings accounts, but I just happen to, because you can open as many savings accounts as you want. And they're for different things. So having different funds in place for different emergencies or different things in life. So I already have an emergency fund. I've had that for a while. I have a moving fund, and I have a travel fund, but I want to have some more specific funds as well, and I want to kind of decide on those, which I haven't quite done yet. I have some vague ideas, but probably something like, you know, like a car fund for both if my car like breaks down, and eventually I'll have to get a new car at some point. So like having a down payment for a car in that, maybe some like vet bill type things, like a pet fund, things like that. So the first thing I need to do as far as like specific tasks is to choose the kinds of sinking funds that I want, like what categories I need sinking funds for, set savings goals, like how much do I want in each fund, and then prioritize them. Like what do I want to get first, and you know, get that fund saved up, and then second, third, and whatever, so I can kind of like budget out properly. There's some more financial goals that I still need to do, like before, you know, in the new year and stuff, as far as like have some financial planning stuff that I'm doing to kind of solidify this. I would ideally like to get like an actual budget and stuff. I just don't know if I'll actually do that. So the sinking funds is the big thing that I want to do. The second financial goal is to get some additional income streams. I mean, I'm pretty fortunate that I have my full-time job, and then I do make some money from like YouTube, whether it's some AdSense, the few sponsorships that I get here and there, and like my Patreon community. So while I'm really grateful for those things, they're not actually income streams that like would really keep me afloat. like I have to have multiple if I were to ever lose my full-time job, which like as a therapist, you have some pretty good job security, so it's probably not going to ever happen. But I just want to have like multiple streams of income and just continue to do that. So that's just something I want to look into as far as like within my degree and stuff. You know, you can speak at conferences, you can like run groups, you can do like consults. There's things you can do with a like mental health degree that I want to kind of look into more and increase streams of income that way. Sadly, you know, I'm a millennial, hustle culture, like that's very much a thing. And I want to be mindful of that and have boundaries around that while still feeling more secure financially as like a single woman, and just making sure that I, you know, have the money to like live. And then lastly, I do want to do like quarterly goal check-ins around finances. Like I want to be more mindful around my finances. That's something that I tend to ignore too, along with like medical appointments. Like I just tend to like push off financial planning stuff. I'll get bursts of energy like right around this time of year about like, okay, I want to do this and this, and then I'll kind of like avoid it for a while. Not because I'm like doing really poorly, it's just something that kind of like stresses me out. You know, money stresses a lot of people out. So I just want to be better about like, okay, every season you kind of have a day, like a reset day that you do some of these tasks. That's when I'll do some of the digital minimalism stuff. That's when I'll do like the financial stuff, like check in, see where my goals are, tweak things around a little bit, all of that kind of stuff, just to be more mindful of what I'm doing with life. And a goal that I didn't really put on here, but I do want to mention so that next year when it rolls around, like maybe it might be a thing, but I talked last year about how I wanted to record my life more, and I really don't. You know, there wasn't a lot of potential to take pictures and things like that. And someone commented on that video and said, maybe you can do like the photo 365 challenge, which is something that photographers tend to do. It's a way to like tweak their photography skills, but just basically the goal is like you take a picture every day. And I don't know if I would stick with that and if I'd want to do that, but I do want to try, maybe starting in January when I have all the energy to do it, to like at least 1 month do like a photo every day challenge and see if I can do that. Again, I don't know where I'd stick it here, maybe mental, I don't know. But I do want to like record my life more because I feel like, you know, like life passes you by and then you like don't have some of these memories and things. So I think if I was more mindful about like taking photos, even of really simple things, I think that might be good. So it's a goal that I like sort of haven't really officially written down. It might be more of like a quarterly goal type thing for the month that I decided to do that challenge, but it is something I kind of want to like keep in mind. Again, it's one of those like vague ones that I'm not like, I don't need that to be fulfilled, right? Like that's not going to necessarily improve my life greatly. So it's not like a huge thing that I want to necessarily focus on as much as the other ones. But it is something I kind of want to mention because it is something that's kind of hanging out in the back of my head. So those are my goals for 2021, how I plan on achieving them, all that kind of thing. So comment down below, let me know some of your goals for 2021. Let me know if you enjoyed this, if you found it kind of like helpful, motivational, inspiring, whatever you want to call it. And I do plan on doing some of the like check-ins about some of these goals on this channel. So if you like this kind of content and you're just here for Vlogmas, maybe subscribe and you can see how like some of my progress throughout the year because I do a lot of the like goal check-in stuff on this channel. So thank you all for watching and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.